This is the story of Karen and her unexpected midlife journey of self discovery, which proved to be a painful but in the end fulfilling and life changing experience. At the age of 35, Karen began to have what she describes as a growth spurt. This growth occurred in many domains of her life, ranging from cognitive to social to emotional and sexual. After 14 years of being married to her high school sweetheart Steve, Karen found herself attracted to another woman. The woman was a coworker of Karen's named Gwen. The development of this attraction left Karen extremely confused and questioning many parts of her life and identity. She also experienced many contradicting feelings. She was both excited and torn. She felt a sense of freedom, but also heavily weighed down. How would this affect her marriage, her life at work? What would people think? Was this love or simply lust? Why would God do this to her? Or was she simply going crazy? She confided in her husband Steve and best friend Meg during this confusing and vulnerable time. She confessed her attraction to Gwen, asking them the questions that had been tormenting her. To Karen's amazement, neither Steve nor Meg were surprised that she had this attraction. They both had long speculated that Karen may have lesbian tendencies. Up until that point, Karen had never even entertained the idea that she might be a lesbian, although she had always found herself to be very open to differences in people and embrace diversity. However, this did not keep her from judging herself. As time passed, Karen's feelings for Gwen grew stronger and stronger, and the toll it was taking on her marriage with Steve became more and more apparent. Karen felt awful, especially because Steve had been nothing but supportive of her during this time of crisis of identity, but she simply could not fight it. As Karen spent more and more time with Gwen, she felt a sort of awakening transpiring within her. She felt truly alive for the first time in her life and was experiencing a wide range of intense emotion. Her feelings eventually grew so strong that she decided to move out of the house she had with Steve and into a condo so she could focus on figuring herself out and commit herself further to Gwen. It was then that Karen began the process of coming out, which she describes as a spiritual experience. It prompted her to rethink her entire identity. She began to redefine herself. Her support systems changed as she only felt comfortable discussing what was going on in her life with a few close friends. She and Steve could no longer talk the way they used to, as his resentment towards her was salient in all their conversations. She sought help from God and a therapist. She felt like she was walking on eggshells around her family and while at work, as she was not yet ready to disclose to them what was going on in her life. To Karen's relief, when she finally felt ready to come out to her family, they were extremely supportive and did not pry. While living at the condo, Karen spent a lot of time at Gwen's house. One afternoon, while they were walking Gwen's dog, a strange man in a car pulled up beside them, got out of the car, and hit Gwen in the leg with a baseball bat. He then came after Karen, hitting her in the knee. Gwen took off running, while Karen calmly told the man to leave them alone and go his separate way. He eventually left, and later that night, Karen's dad drove her and Gwen down to a convenience store where they positively identified the attacker. When they went to court, the attacker received jail time, and members of his family yelled homophobic slurs at Karen and Gwen. Karen describes it as her first experience with sexual orientation discrimination. About 3 months after the assault incident, Gwen and Karen moved in together in a small rental house out in the country. Only their close friends knew that they were a couple, as they did not feel safe showing affection in public. It was on a trip to Atlanta to visit a couple of Gwen's gay friends that the couple was finally able to be open about their relationship status. During this trip, many of the preconceived notions that Karen had about lesbians were put to the test. Many of the women who she met who identified as lesbians did not fit the stereotypical lesbian template. They had long hair and presented themselves as very feminine. The experience made Karen very conscious of the way she presented herself. She made an effort to be more feminine. Karen and Gwen's relationship lasted 7 years. After things ended between them, Karen spiraled into a state of extreme self-doubt and depression. She became physically ill, losing weight rapidly. It was extremely difficult to lose the relationship that she had given up her old life for, and her entire identity was compromised yet again. She sought comfort in her friends, a church support group, a new therapist, and antidepressants. She even joined a social organization for lesbians, hoping to find a companion that could fill the void left by Gwen. All of Karen's experiences have led her to question if she is truly a lesbian. She finds that she identifies more with bisexuality, but is hesitant to use that label due to the stigma that surrounds it. After her relationship with Gwen ended, Karen decided to further pursue academia. She finished her undergraduate degree and completed her dissertation on the training of school administrators on issues of sexual orientation. She went on to become an assistant principal and teach part-time at the university about research, multicultural education, and the education of children and adolescents. During her second semester of school, Karen went to the movies with a woman named Savannah who she had worked with in the summer. To Karen's surprise, Savannah was also interested in women, and the two have been dating for going on 3 years now. Karen says she is still continuing to discover her sexual identity. For her, sexual orientation is not a continuum. It is much more fluid than that. All of the experiences in her life allowed her to open up to parts of herself that needed to come to the surface if she was going to grow as a human being. And she says she is very excited to see what else life has in store for her.